Hello, everybody. We're back.
We're back, and I still haven't remembered my second point of topic for conversation for this next video. So I guess we're going to have to go back and edit the first one, and maybe I can recall what I was thinking, because that train is on the fast track out of my mind.
Wow.
So what do we have now?
Someone has sent us a clip of them talking to Jehovah's Witnesses, and I can't say their name just in case, they asked me to keep them anonymous. So all I'm going to say is thank you, Em.
Thank you very much, because this is just brilliant. I mean, it's just brilliant, because now you can really see what's in the mind of a Jehovah Witness. I mean, it's just, thank you so much for recording this and going in the direction you went.
Yeah.
It's really, really enlightening. In fact, I'm going to actually add another portion to the illustration that's used.
Yeah.
In this.
So thank you so much, for sending us this clip, and we will keep you anonymous, because this person is still talking to Jehovah's Witnesses and recording it, which these are great, because it also shows, no wonder Watchtower watches, these type of videos, because it also shows what your witnesses are saying when they're out in the field standing next to these literature carts.
Well, the thing is when the Jehovah Witness gives back the response, it really makes the governing body and the writers, the people that physically sit down and write this nonsense, how stupid you people really, really are. The level of ignorance it's just unjustifiable. How do you justify this level of ignorance?
Well, this week's word, brought to you by our sponsors, this week's word is dumbassery.
Yes. So I guess let's, and now again, as you're listening to this, Kim and I tried to run it through our editing program to take out some of the background noises, and we just couldn't. So you'll hear some cars driving by, so you'll just have to probably kind of like, if you can, tune out the background cars coming by, and you'll be able to pick up on what's being said.
Well, if you listen to it with the headphones like I do, you pick up quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
So let's listen to the first part of this.
You said something that I was like, I looked through this reasoning, I think this is called reasoning book, reasoning scriptures as well, about it, because I was like, no, this can't be what you said. So maybe I misunderstood you, so you can explain to me. But you said you'd rather be wrong and with the congregation than right and not with the congregation.
Yeah.
Okay, when we're talking about the Pornea and the...
Yeah.
And that story over there. Okay. Now, if the congregation is wrong in a little thing, okay, and this I think is in that reasoning, but I'm sure it's there, I don't know exactly where it is. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that too, so you can understand. Okay. They talk about a glass of water. You know where I'm coming from here? So you have a glass of water. If someone gives you a glass of water, okay, and it's pure water, all it is water, you'll drink it. It's nice, it's good. But if they've taken one drop of poison and stuck it in that water, it's only one drop, it's only a little part of the water, not the whole water.
Yeah.
You wouldn't drink it still, would you?
No.
And this is, I'm seeing parallels here. If there's something that's wrong, surely everything needs to be questioned, because of that's...
In that respect, you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, the understanding that this organization has of the Bible, right, I think is pretty much on point.
Okay.
Personally, I feel that, right? Let's say they've got something not quite right, According to what the scriptures say, it says that the light gets brighter, and as time goes on, Jehovah will reveal more and more, so we get a clearer understanding. Maybe at this moment in time, it's not really that important.
Wow. Now we're in the mind of a Jehovah Witness. Now notice, the illustration was used, a glass of water, and the Jehovah Witness himself said he would not drink it with one drop of poison. And the guy asking the question says, well, certainly if there's something wrong, you have to question it. And the Jehovah Witness says, well, in that respect, you're absolutely right. But then he says, but the light gets brighter. You have to keep in mind, Jehovah keeps the light getting brighter. And then he makes some other dumbass comment. Well, it's not really that important. But wait a minute. In your use of the illustration to anybody who's involved with Christendom, then by what you just said, Mr. Jehovah Witness, then it doesn't really matter that the Catholic believes in a burning hell. It doesn't really matter that Jesus died on a cross or a stake. It doesn't really matter that another religious group believes that we all die and go to heaven. Do you people now see how this Jehovah Witness is now going to justify their drinking the poison?
Well, the thing is he said, if there is something that is wrong, it will get cleared up.
How do you clear the poison out of this, Jehovah's Witnesses? How do you clear it?
Well, at the end of this particular part of the clip, it says the light gets brighter. Okay, if you're waiting for Jehovah to make the light brighter and you don't understand or something is wrong now, do you not understand? This means that right now you are in darkness.
And I'm going to illustrate it like this. Jehovah's Witnesses, you are in such spiritual darkness, you can't even comprehend how dark your spirituality is. And I'm going to liken that to just the opposite of the clear glass. See, if you have a clear glass of water and put one drop of poison, you can readily see it. But when you have a dark glass of rum,
When you're so dark,
when you're so dark, when you're so captivated by spiritual darkness,
you can't see the poison.
you can't see the poison.
And you're going to drink it down.
If I made my point, Jehovah's Witnesses, you claim your spiritual light's going to get brighter and brighter. You can see the poison. But when you're in such deep, dark spiritual darkness, spiritually, hell, I put one drop of poison in it. Let's put 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you see the poison? If I made my point,
I got the point.
it's just this simple, Jehovah's Witnesses, to identify how spiritually dark your organization has kept you. It just, I'm going to just sit here and swirl it as much as I did this. This was one drop of a false teaching. If you're wrong on one thing, shouldn't you question everything? Well, in that respect, you can. But you have to understand that the light gets brighter. Now, as we go into the next clip, listen to how long this Jehovah Witness is going to keep drinking the poison, waiting for the light to get brighter. It's absolutely ridiculous.
We don't have a full understanding of a certain point. But in 5 years' time, that might be quite important. And it will come out. There'll be a watchtower article on it to give us refinement.
So, you heard it from the mouth of this Jehovah Witness. For 5 years, while you're waiting for a refinement, you're willing to drink the poison. This is how incredibly stupid these people have become. Because you heard it right from their own mouth. They're going to wait for 5 years to drink the poison for this to be refined. Unbelievable.
There's more.
Okay.
Clearer understanding of it. It happened with the generation. You've heard about the generation? This generation will no means pass away. And we've had a lot more refinements on the understanding of that because now it's more and more relevant.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So what I was meaning is that I would rather be wrong with the congregation because maybe they don't have a full understanding of a certain point, you know? But just because that understanding is not fully understood, is everything else wrong?
So, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we're trained that when we start studying with people, we need to emphasize the point that if they find one drop of poison,
one false teaching,
or several in their religion, they need to immediately get out of Babylon the Great. But yet, as you can hear from this clip, Jehovah's Witnesses cannot see the same thing in their own beliefs.
But see, this is the difference between somebody who's been indoctrinated into a cult like the Watchtower and Babel Crap Society and someone who's not been indoctrinated in such a way, because the person behind the door will readily see that that one drop of poison is one false teaching and it taints the entire religion.
Oh yeah, I need to get out of my church.
Get out. God's not going to bless this organization or your religion because you've got one non-scriptural, non-biblical teaching. See, someone who's not been indoctrinated, someone who still has their common sense, can see the value of the illustration.
Power of perception?
The power of perception. But someone who has now been persuaded by, well, let's just use the term, the dark side, will no longer be able to see the poison of the dark side. How do you help these people? How do we help the Jehovah Witness see that they're drinking the absolute poison if they can't see it themselves? And yet Jehovah's Witnesses are the one that taught us this illustration.
Yeah.
They're the ones that taught us how to use the value of good illustrations. And yet when it's being thrown right back in their own face, they'll justify drinking it for 5 years. For 5 years until they wait for new light. And then he comes out and says, well, wait a minute. See, we just had a clarification on the
generations
things. Hey, dumbass. That didn't clarify a damn thing. That's why that's why many Jehovah's Witnesses at that point woke up and left. Because you said, this generation will not pass away until all these things occur, including that great tribulation. That generation came and went, and then all you did was set out in your benevolent wisdom to try to clarify it by coming out with other nonsense, saying, well, see, Jesus really meant the generation would overlap. If Jesus really meant that generation would overlap, then in your reasoning book, you would have already expressed that. You would have already explained. This is how dark and deceptive your organization is.
I wish I had one of those blank counsel slips that they used to do when we were in the ministry school, because I would be sitting here and this witness would get a W for illustrations.
Yeah, for effective use of illustrations, because honestly, you just destroyed your own illustration. How stupid are these people?
And it's sad.
It really is truly sad that this organization has gotten, well, this is where Jehovah's Witnesses absolutely lack humility, because it takes a tremendous amount of humility for a human being to sit down and say, I allowed some organization to screw with my mind. I let them screw my mind up so bad that I could no longer determine where the poison is.
Yep. Which reminds me, there is a new YouTube channel, and we apologize, there's just so many new YouTubers we can't keep up, but I just wanted to mention real quick, JW Watch is a new YouTuber, and he just, he's done a couple of videos now, but in his first one, it's, really an emotional video. That was kind of difficult to watch, because he's absolutely right, because those of us who come out, and we realize how much we're going to lose, and it's very traumatic for all of us. And, no one leaves a cult unscathed.
Nobody.
We all have scars. You just can't see them. So.
Well, you can see mine. I'm bearing all of my scars right here so that you don't have to bear them also. Avoid this organization that calls itself the Watchtower Bible Tract Society, and you'll readily recognize them now. It's a big old blue sign that says jw.org. You're seeing firsthand how screwed up in the mind this organization is going to make you, to where you no longer can see the poison you're being fed. Spiritually speaking, that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know? So,
But now if they change their mind, for example, they say you can take blood transfusions, then they say you can't take blood transfusions, and then they say you can take blood transfusions. That's what you like, is it?
I mean,
That would be flickering light. I don't know.
No, that would be like, well, hang on. That would make no sense because the Bible is very clear.
No, I'm saying, well, I mean, if that happens, what would you say to that?
If they change like that, I would say they'd be going against what the Bible teaches and this organization.
But then they'd be wrong. Would you then say it's not good to be wrong with the congregation?
I guess so. But that kind of
Can't happen. In fact.
that wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't happen.
No, for sure not. Because it's a clear teaching. It's very clear.
Okay.
There's no
What is the current teaching with regards to blood transfusions?
with blood transfusion. You don't accept blood transfusion.
At all?
No. Not a blood transfusion.
Not
Not whole blood components. The fractions of blood components, that's your conscience. Entirely to you.
Okay. Okay. I'm just saying that to me seems...
Because even a fraction of blood, it can be broken up to like water. So that we don't accept water. Yeah, we do.
So it's like blood bacteria.
Before there was no you were allowed to take fractions of blood, then you weren't allowed to take fractions of blood. Now you can take fractions of
Oh
blood.
no, they've never changed that.
Wow. Now I love where he says they've never changed on this blood
Unbelievable.
issue. Now for those of us who've been out and been doing the research, yeah, blood fraction or blood transfusions was allowed way back, but organ transplants were not, because that was cannibalism. Okay, now I just happen to have a golden age here. 1931, February 4th. Now some of you may recognize this same golden age from our last video.
Yes.
And yes, Mikey remembered what one of the videos
Yes,
we were
I
going to
did.
do.
That train pulled back in with a big old sign. I have your answer. But you have to wait till another video.
Well, I don't know. These guys are...
No, we're
That's
gonna,
what reminded us
I
of
know,
that.
exactly.
Listening to this clip. All right, the Golden Age, 1931, February 4th, page 294. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this would be the first full paragraph. This covenant. Okay, now they're talking about the covenant that God made to Noah coming out of the ark, which is in Genesis. This covenant not only involves the entire human family, but also includes every other living creature upon it. So important was this covenant that God placed his bow in the clouds as an everlasting reminder of the danger of its violation. Now here is something that is here to make our point. There are two things that God in this covenant forbids man's doing. One is that man shall not take the blood of the beast internally. The blood of animals internally. And the other is that he shall not shed the blood of his fellow man. There's nothing about blood transfusions
nothing.
because this is one of those time periods when blood transfusions was allowed.
Was allowed, exactly. See, the thing is that a Jehovah's Witness like this is saying things like, well, it's never changed, because he's counting on the person he's talking to be ignorant.
But if they listen to Mike and Kim's videos...
But that's no longer the case, because what a lot of us ex-JWs that are doing, especially those on YouTube, we're educating the world now to how Watchtower has flip-flopped all of this and kept their people in spiritual darkness.
So then the next paragraph, all reasonable minds must conclude that it was not the eating of the blood that God objected to, but it was the bringing the blood of the beast in contact with the blood of man. So correct me if I'm right, if I'm wrong, but this has nothing to do with blood transfusions, because this was infusing animal
Right.
blood in with human.
It's got right.
And then they go on to talk about vaccines. So
Now, for the sake of argument, Jehovah's Witnesses, you know conclusively that Watchtower has flip-flopped the doctrine. All you have to do is go to the 1961 blood booklet, and Watchtower specifically also condemns blood fractions as being against God's law. And now, in recent years, 2011 I think it was when that insert came out, the KM, all you got to do is 2006, thank you, that blood fractions are now a conscious matter, which he alludes to. This no longer represents false teachings, Jehovah's Witnesses. This now represents whole blood. You say it's against God's law to take whole blood, but you can take fractions. For the lack of an eyedropper, I'm just going to insert that a little bit. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but you can see
one drop.
that there is a fraction of this on the end of this chopstick. Please explain to me how this fraction is still not blood, and or going back to the original illustration that this is a glass of poison with one drop. Explain to me how that one fraction is not also going to poison you.
Well, not only that, but I think we've mentioned this in another video, that when you get the 4 components of blood and you talk to a real doctor and you say a fraction of these blood components,
They're still scratching their heads.
they don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. What do you mean? A red blood cell is a red blood cell, no matter how much you chop it up, no matter how you slice and dice it and serve it up, it's still a red blood cell.
Well, the thing is when you're in a hospital and you say, okay, well, I will just accept, red blood cells, a fraction of red blood cells. Well, they have that component in a bag by itself. So they hook the bag up. You cannot say, oh, well, I'll just take a fraction of that. I'll just take 10%. You can't do that.
You can't do it. This is this is how spiritually in darkness Jehovah's Witnesses have become. They can no longer see reason. They no longer can see continuity. They just can't see it, because this is how much Watchtower has poisoned their minds. But there's more.
Yeah. In fact, I believe there's just a little bit left of this clip. So we'll come back with concluding comments.
Yep.
They've never changed that. So you've always been able to take fractions of blood.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
There might have been more refinement. At one time it was like whole blood. The technology wasn't there, the understanding wasn't there about blood fractions and that sort of thing.
Blood fractions were there. When did the teaching change? Because if I understand correctly,
I don't know.
the blood fractions were there before the teaching changed.
Well, maybe their understanding was like, okay, well, a fraction of blood is not actually blood. It's not whole blood. So,
I see that as a very, I don't know where you draw that line. It's just very weird. But anyway.
You got to be careful, because like certain medications are taken from fractions of blood, not whole blood.
So that's all the recording we have. And hopefully he'll be able to send us some more. And
Thank you. This is, it really shows you how indoctrinated that Jehovah's Witnesses truly are, and they've become a group of people on this earth that you can no longer reason with, because he starts out with their own illustration.
Yeah.
And he even says, oh yeah, you know, you've got to pretty much abandon. I don't remember his exact words, but he actually agrees with the value of the illustration of one drop of poison, but then he turns right around and says, but we keep getting new light, even if you got to wait for 5 years.
Yeah.
You all saw how many drops of red dye I put in this dark rum. You can't even see. You can't even see that there's a hint of a color change with just one drop. And then he turns around and talks about blood fractions. Whole blood, that becomes a fraction. Hey, this time the camera's picking it up. But as the illustration of poison, would you put that in your vein with this representing just a fraction of poison? No, you would not. This is how illogical Jehovah's Witnesses are. They'll sit there and destroy the value of their own illustrations and not see and comprehend what they're doing, because they are truly in such spiritual darkness.
And that's why they have to get rid of this old literature, and that's why it's so important for all of us to save, you know, all of this old literature to show where they're wrong.
Yeah, where they're absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
But the thing is I know that there's many people out there that don't like the Bible. I still like using it because it still resonates with Jehovah's Witnesses. I think it does.
Okay.
First
I just
John.
noticed battery.
Yeah, 1 John 1:5. And this is the message which we have heard from him and are announcing to you, that God is light, and there is no darkness at all in union with him. So Jehovah's Witnesses, as you claim you have the truth, God's directing your organization, there should be no darkness in union with God. So if you continue to come up with new light this and new light that, then that shows that you're still in darkness.
So we all hope you have a wonderful day. Battery's dead. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
I was trying